Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, this is John Paval with Access Art Live, giving you a special edition today, July 29th, 2025, to let you know about what will be going on in the final 2 of 12 live streams published by the Seattle Chamber Music Society's Summer Music Festival, what they call the world's largest chamber music party. They've done 10 already, and we've told you all about them. And here I am to tell you all about the last 2 this week, one of which is today, July 29th, and the next will be in a couple days' time. So let's get right to today's live stream, if I can manage to make the imagery work on Restream, which is what we use to get everything done. Here are the artists who will be in the playing in the 3 different pieces in today's live stream, July 29th. Let me do a proper introduction of them. Tuesday, July 29th, the Seattle Chamber Music Society Summer Music Fest live streams a suite by Moszkowski, a piano trio by Fanny, Mendelssohn, and a Beethoven string trio played by top musicians from across the country and abroad. That'll be at 7:30 in the evening, Pacific Daylight Time, 10:30 in the evening on the East Coast, a terrible 4:30 in the morning here in Europe, and 12:30 noon time down under in Australia on Wednesday. We give you the link to where you buy your ticket. The Seattle Chamber Music Society's live streams are state-of-the-art 6-camera live streams, which does not come cheap. There is a charge of $36 to get your ticket to enjoy the live stream. People who are attending in person are paying twice as much, if that's any consolation. We also give you a link to the program notes, which, especially for this concert, are heavy on musicology. So I may not have a lot to add in terms of explanations or background about the specific works, but I am going to tell you a little bit, and I will tell you all about the performers who are the artists who are performing. So let's start out with the first piece, which is going to be one by Moszkowski. And let me show you who the players are for that particular piece. Over the past few weeks, as I've been covering this, I have seen them mix and match these different players together. And James Ennis, Tessa Lark, and Max Levinson have all played with each other already in earlier concerts in different capacities. Not all 3 together necessarily, but 2 of them at a time playing with each other. So let me tell you a little bit about this first piece that they're playing today. It's Moszkowski's Suite for 2 violins and piano in G minor, Opus 71. If you keep track of opus numbers, Moszkowski was a German-born Jewish pianist, but he identified as Polish, and very often compared to Chopin. And he wrote over 200 small-scale piano pieces. But the piece they're playing today, the Suite for 2 violins and piano, is not one of them. And he had great aspirations to being considered a serious composer, but mostly he's known for these smaller-scale piano pieces. He was very successful touring around Europe in the late 1800s until some health problems kept him from continuing to do so. So around the end of the 1800s, he moved to Paris. It's one of those sad stories where eventually ill health and sort of losing touch with no longer being a part of the progressive musical trends of the day, the guy died pretty lonely and impoverished in the 1920s. The musicians are James Ennis. He's the big cheese, the director of the Seattle Chamber Music Society Summer Music Fest. He's the guy who founded in 2010 the Ennis Quartet, which is renowned and has performed all over the world. He's the kind of guy, he doesn't just do recitals at places like Wigmore Hall, he does residencies. And he has over 40 CDs out, and a Gramophone Award, 2 Grammy Awards, and 11 Juno Awards. So he's sort of at the summit of things. Beside him, also on the violin, he's a violinist, by the way, if I missed that. Beside him on the violin is Tessa Lark, whom he has paired off with before during this festival. She's been playing at this she's been appearing at the Seattle Chamber Music Society function since 2016, so almost a decade now. She has the distinction of having a bluegrass-inspired violin concerto composed for her by Michael Tork, and it earned her a Grammy nomination in 2020 for playing it, and it earned him a Pulitzer Prize finalist. And she's basically a performer, not one of the faculty member participants. And on the piano in that, then, which is very important, is Max Levinson. He's been playing at this summer festival for over 20 years. He's the chairman of the piano department at the Boston Conservatory and also teaches at the New England Conservatory. So another top guy. That should come off really well, given not only their abilities, but the fact they've been playing together throughout this festival. Then they will do Fanny Mendelssohn's Piano Trio in D minor, Opus 11. Dare I mention what a sad story the story of Felix and Fanny Mendelssohn is, and how Felix, like Mozart before him, had an older sister who was also very talented, Fanny, but she had a stroke at one point, and he died like 6 months later. Just couldn't. So much sadness behind this beauty. Anyway, this piece will be played by 2 instrumentalists who play a lot together, Tom Poster and Elena Urioste. Let me call up the photograph of them for you so you can see who I'm talking about while I'm talking about them. Sometimes I have to tap like 3 or 4 times to get a photo actually to show up for me. So here they are, Tom and Elena, and the cellist Mark Kosovar. Hope I pronounce his name correctly. Tom and Elena have worked together doing a live stream series during the 2020 COVID lockdown called the Uri Post Jukebox series, but they also are both members of the Kaleidoscope Chamber Collective, which Tom founded, which broadcast regularly on BBC Radio 3 and which has done residencies at various music festivals. And Elena also does a lot of solo performing as a soloist with a lot of top orchestras: Philadelphia, Cleveland, New York, LA, Buffalo, Chicago, Boston, Dallas. Need I go on? Anyway, and then Mark Kosovar on the cello. He's been playing at Seattle Chamber Music Society functions for about 5 years. He's principal cello of the very fine Cleveland Orchestra. He's taught at the Cleveland Institute of Music and the San Francisco Conservatory. So he's a top guy as well. He's played with he's played with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, which is a favorite of mine, among others. It's another one of these guys who's played with everybody. So so that should be very fine, especially since Tom and Elena know each other so well. I'd be surprised if they weren't working on this well in advance of this festival. And then the third piece, you see me tap. You might be able to hear me tap, tapping, trying to get please give me the picture. The third piece, again, is a 3-person piece with Noah Bendix Bagley, Joan Derhovsepian, and Julie Albers. And I don't know if these 3 have played together before during this festival. It's Beethoven's String Trio in E-flat major, Opus 3. I don't have a lot to tell you about it because the program notes are entirely musicological, and I am no musicologist. I'm not going to pretend I am one. But I will tell you, Noah Bendix Bagley, he's a violinist. He's the first concert master with the Berlin Phil. I don't know if you need to know anything more about the quality of his play besides that. But he's also a member of the Rosamond String Quartet, which has members from the LA and New York Philharmonics, and the a septet called Philharmonics, which has members from the Berlin and Vienna Philharmonics. So top guy on the violin. On the viola is again Joan Derhovsepian, who's the principal viola of the Houston Symphony Orchestra. She teaches at Rice University's Shepherd School of Music. For a long time, she was with the Everest Quartet, which was very, highly acclaimed. And now this fall, she's going to begin as the violist of the Axelrod String Quartet, which is the quartet in residence at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. Then finally on the cello is Julie Albers, who's been playing at Seattle Chamber Music Society for over a decade. She's an assistant professor at the McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University in Georgia. And she's also active. She has an Albers string trio and also plays with the Cortona trio. So that's the lineup for you on tonight at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which is, as I mentioned before, hold on a second, I want to put these artists back on the screen for you. Which, as I mentioned before, is 10:30 in the evening on the East Coast if you're on the East Coast. It's 4:30 in the morning if you're in Europe, sorry. And it's a lovely, what time is it? It's 12:30, lunchtime, down under in Australia. If you have contacts who are in Australia who might be interested in it, please let them know about it, because I don't know how well we reach to Australia. I've been trying to figure out how we can have better coverage, because many of the live streams that we publicize would be of great interest to people in Australia. Then we move on to another concert, which I believe will be on August 1st on Friday, I think. And I think that's the final concert. Friday, August 1st, the Seattle Chamber Music Society live streams the final concert of its Summerfest, the world's largest chamber music party, with a state-of-the-art live stream of music by Joaquin Turina, Mel Bonis, Charlotte Sohy, and Franz Schubert's signature string quartet in C major. That's on this Friday, and I think I just gave you the times. It's always the same times for them: 7:30 Pacific time in the evening, 10:30 in the evening on the East Coast, 4:30 in the morning on the West Coast, and it'll be noontime, 12:30 down under in Australia on Saturday. We'll give you the link to buy your $36 ticket and to the program notes. So let's talk about some of this music. We'll take the pieces. You'll notice that it's a very similar lineup to the people that were playing in Tuesday's live streams. If you were paying attention to what I was talking about when I was talking about that live stream, or if you tuned into it, just in case you're watching this as a separate clip, which you could be doing. The first piece that they're doing is Joaquin Turina's Piano Trio No. 2 in B minor, Opus 76. Joaquin Turina was a Spanish composer who was enormously successful in Spain, ended up teaching at the Madrid Conservatory and so forth, and had a long and successful career in Spain in the first half of the 20th century. But he also composed a symphony and an opera, which were not as successful. Interestingly enough, they're doing a piano trio that he composed, and he studied piano with Moszkowski, whose piano piece started out the July 29th, the Tuesday live stream from the Seattle Chamber Music Society. So, and I cannot think that is just a coincidence. They must have said, well, wouldn't this be cool to put a piece, a piano piece by a guy who was influenced by Moszkowski in the next concert. Anyway, the performers in this particular piece are Max Levinson. I'm sorry, there's a typo on that on the spelling of his name on that photo. Too late to fix it. He's been playing at the Summer Music Festival for over 20 years. the chairman of the piano department at the Boston Conservatory and also teaches at the New England Conservatory. Then on the violin is Noah Bendix. Bagley, he's been playing with the Seattle Chamber of Music people since 2016. He's the first concertmaster at the Berlin Philharmonic, member of the Rosamond String Quartet, which is LA and New York Phil members, and the Philharmonic Septet, whose members are from the Berlin and Vienna Phil. If you're wondering why I repeat myself, some of this stuff that I've been talking about earlier in the same live stream is because I will be putting together separate clips and for each of these live streams. So I need to repeat some of the info because some people will only see the second clip, like the clip that I make for this concert. And then on the cello, among that trio, is F.A. Baltasigo, who's been along from the beginning of the Summer Music Festival. He's principal cello of the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, so he's just playing at home. And he's been doing that since 2011. He's originally from Turkey and was named Turkey's String Player of the Year in 2013. How about that? Then a couple of interesting pieces are going to be done once again by this pair of Tom Poster and let me get the picture up for you. And Elena Urioste, who did a lot of work together, live streaming during the 2020 lockdown, and they worked together in the Kaleidoscope Chamber Collective, which is an increasingly successful group in the UK. That's an associate ensemble at Wigmore Hall, for instance. I can only wonder whether or not these were pieces they had already worked on before in the past. And they'll be doing 3 pieces. 2 of them are by Mel Bonis, her Andante Religioso. Yes, Mel is a woman. I'll tell you more about that. Her Andante Religioso, Opus 78, and her Allegretto ma non troppo, Opus 84. And then they'll do a piece by Charlotte Sohy called Thème varié, a varied theme, Opus 15. And let me tell you a little bit more about both of them. I wanted you to see the picture of these 2 musicians together because they're obviously, they work closely together. They know each other inside out. They must know these pieces well. So I think this is going to be a super concert. But let me show you a picture first of Mel Bonis and tell you a little bit about her, because especially for these women composers, we don't know as much about them. Her real name is Mélanie Hélène Bonis. She was born in 1858 and lived until 1937. She wrote more than 300 pieces, works for piano solo, for 4 hands, organ, chamber music, melodies, choral music, a mass, works for orchestra. She attended the Paris Conservatory. She studied with César Franck, among others, and Ernest de Guiraud, who perhaps is not as well known to some of you. She went by the name of Mel because there were prejudices against women composers. And Mel, instead of Mélanie, was more neutral, and you couldn't tell if it was a male or a woman. And among the many, now she had a very curious life story, very different from Charlotte Sohy. So I will bother to tell you about it. She was she fell in love with a young poet while she was at the conservatory and was writing music around his poems and all of that. But she came from a sort of a her family didn't approve of the relationship, and they ended up marrying her off to some industrialist who didn't even like music. And she had 3 children with him, I think, and her composing and all diminished during that period. And then eventually she came back to her senses and reunited with this poet whom she was in love with. But it wasn't an easy time for them, complicated. And in 1909, 1910, she wrote 3 brief pieces for violin and piano, which she dedicated to friends and colleagues of hers in Paris. And these 2 pieces were among them. And so I'm told they're very sweet and delicate pieces. Now, let me tell you about Charlotte Sohy. Charlotte Sohy had the fortune of being born a generation later than Mel Bonis. So, although it was still difficult, it was not as difficult for women. And she came from a family, a very bourgeois family, but they were a music-loving family. They were an arts-loving family. And when she was friends with Mel Bonis and friends with Nadia Boulanger, and she married a composer, not someone who hated music. And they had they had like a salon in their home for years, and everybody went to it. So she had a much more glorious lifestyle. She wrote masses, art songs, piano pieces, trio, string quartets, symphony, and more. So, and in 1921, she sat down and composed this Thème Varié, which they'll be playing for you, scored for violin and piano. And but just as Mélanie Bonis went by the name Mel, Sohy used her grandfather's name. She didn't go by the name Charlotte when it came to publishing her work. She went by Charles Sohy. That was her grandfather's name. Anyway, I thought that would be interesting for you to know, to have a little more background about this. And I was so caught up in it. There's the photo of Mélanie Bonis. And I want to show you also then a fellow, and look at the difference. Look at the difference here. Here's a photo of Charlotte Sohy. That's the difference, okay? This is a Parisian woman about town, fashionable, popular, etc. Not someone living this much more difficult existence, being forced to marry an industrialist who didn't even like music when she was a composer. I mean, it's all the difference. Here, let me put the other photo up for you. And I don't think it's just a question of, well, it just happens to be those two photos. No, it's different age. It's a different age. There you go. Okay, so now we move on to the final, the great conclusion of this terrific series of 12 live streams of chamber music from the Seattle Summer Fest, the world's largest chamber music party. And it's got a lineup of people that appeared. They all appeared and played in the Tuesday, July 29th live stream concert. And they're here on this last piece, which is none other than Franz Schubert's glorious string quartet in C major, opus 163. Which many people consider just one of the finest string quintets. Sorry if I said quartet, it's a quintet, ever composed. So telling you for a last time who these performers are, it's James Ennis, founder of the very popular Ennis Quartet, the guy who's won 2 Grammy Awards and 11 Juno Awards for his discography. Tessa Lark, with whom he often has played during this festival, who won a Grammy nomination in the Best Classical Instrumental Solo category when she played a bluegrass-inspired violin concerto written for her by Michael Tork. Then Joan der Hovsepian, who she played in the Beethoven String Trio Tuesday, July 29th. She's the principal viola of the Houston Symphony and teaches at Rice University's School of Music, and is newly going to be the violist of the Axelrod String Quartet at the Quartet in Residence at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. On the cello, you have Mark Kosover. Mark, I don't know how to pronounce it. And he's the principal cello of the Cleveland Orchestra, and does a lot of cello concerto solo appearances with a lot of different orchestras. And finally, also on the cello is Julie Albers, who's the assistant professor at the McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University in Georgia, and also has her own Albers String Quartet and Cortona Trio. Folks, this has been a I am just so impressed with the quality and the commitment that the Seattle Chamber Music Society has shown over the past few weeks in offering these 12 live streams. I know that they weren't necessarily accessible to everybody at the rate of $36 for a ticket, but the quality was so fine, and the quality of the program notes that they designed, and the fact that they're doing state-of-the-art live streaming, and not only that, but during the breaks and intermissions, instead of fobbing you off on recordings, they do live interviews of the musicians on scene, and that's so much the right way. There's so much which is right about the way the Seattle Chamber Music Society has gone about this festival and gone about live streaming it, that it's really an example to behold. So that'll be it for this week in terms of chamber music information. I will be back tomorrow with an update on another summer music festival, which is starting up, which is the Lakes Area Music Festival in Minnesota, which has 3 live streams going on this week as well. So there's music live streams happening this summer, while all the major orchestras and chamber societies that do weekly performances during the regular year are shut down. There are these music festivals going on all over the place, and I will continue to keep you up to date with them. Before I log off, let me remind you, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching this on any of our other 6 platforms, please take the extra step and follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and or LinkedIn, and we'll continue to provide you with more than 1,000 live links to live performances online in the coming year. And if you do enjoy any of these live streams or the shorter clips that I create out of these live streams, I would encourage you to repost them to other people, or invite your friends also to follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live. We're really trying to bring together as many of the separate audiences of these different performing arts companies as we can, because you see, they're not going to market each other. And yet what will make this more and more successful as time goes on is if these different outlets and content creators are sharing audiences, so that you get audiences from the Bowdoin International Music Festival also tuning into the Seattle Chamber Music Society Summer Music Festival. Somebody has to do that, that cross content creator communication. It's us, as far as we know. So ciao for now. Thank you for tuning in. And also, if you tune into any of the concerts we ever tell you about, feel free to come back and comment on whether you like them or whether you didn't like them on any of our 6 or 7 platforms. Ciao for now. I will be back tomorrow with one more live stream this week.